Hey guys, it's Eric from Starcraft2Tactics.info. Today I'm going to be going over my basic guide for Thor Mastery. Now, the Thors are very much a late game unit that you want to use in specific circumstances. Those circumstances are when it's later in the game and your opponent is relying primarily on Tier 1 and Tier 2 infantry, especially for Protoss and Zerg. You can see here these units like Hydralisks, Roaches, Stalkers, very, very, very good opponent for the Thor, because the Thors will just tear them up. Now, we've been scanning their base periodically. You can see myself and my partner, we both have, well, I have two of these orbital commands. We've both been just scanning them periodically and just keeping an eye on them and figuring out what they have. And these units that they're building right here, all these second tier infantry units, just amazing targets for the Thor. Amazing targets for the Thor. So really, excuse me, and I apologize, I'm still getting over being sick, but this is something that you really want to look at here when it comes to using the Thor, is what your opponent is using. Because you have to take into consideration, the Thor is a very slow unit. And if you mass Thors and your opponent masses Void Rays, game over. Period. Because if you've spent that much time and that much resources on that particular strategy, then you're screwed if it doesn't work out. However, we've been scanning them throughout the game, and we really just know what they're up to. Nobody's really expanded outwards yet at this point, and for good reason. On this particular map, there's plenty of resources just within the boundaries of your base. But, you know, it's at this point that that we know what they're planning on sending at us, and we're just prepared for it. So that's why I decided to build Thors. Don't just mass Thors autonomously. You know, you want to know what your opponent has. You want to be ready for it. You want to be on top of it enough that you know, if he's building, let's say he's building Brood Lords and Void Rays. You know, that's horrible. That's horrible. You don't want to be fighting against that with Thors. That'd be a terrible idea. But since he's building these infantry units, these tier 2 and tier 1 infantry units, it's going to make a great opponent for the Thor. And they're going to get crushed here, and I'll show you here in a second. What's great too, excuse me, is my partner is dominating the air, which is just fantastic. I absolutely love that he's taking care of the air, because I have control over the ground while he has phenomenal control over the air, and it makes for a great partnership, honestly. So if you're playing in a 2v2 game, get your partner involved. Say, hey, you know what? Go air. Bring some air into the battlefield, because I can take care of the ground just fine with these Thors. And everything complements itself really nicely. So you can see here, we definitely did a pretty good job of harassing him throughout the game. Yeah, he definitely crippled their mineral flow there pretty quickly. It's a pretty impressive attack, actually, for a hit and run. But he's doing a really good job of controlling the air, which is definitely what you want your partner to do. And basically, you know, these Thors, late game, phenomenal. And they're also really good for defensive units. I don't know if you know that, because they move real slow. That's part of the reason why I say that. They move real slow, but they hold their ground extremely well. So having a Thor or two at your base just to defend is actually a phenomenal idea, even if you're not going to use them for any sort of offensive tactics. So anyways, I'm about to show you the combat situations with the Thor. Now, this is really important. I wasn't lying when I told you guys that Thor performs against Tier 1 and Tier 2 infantry. Watch it. Just look at how much these guys get annihilated when they try and attack. You know, they're forming up outside the base here. And then I go to leave and I see them. And they get just absolutely crushed. I don't think they kill even a single Thor. Well, they might kill one. Yeah, it looks like they kill one. Pretty pathetic, right? highly pathetic. Which is in part because of great turtling strategies, but it's also because the Thor's cannon is just so good at ripping into infantry. It's phenomenal at hitting infantry. I mean, it does 36 damage and it hits twice. That's as powerful as a siege tank, pretty much. You know, when you add up the fact that it's a double tap, which is great for, like I said, great for those infantry units. So what happens here is towards the end, like I said, when you go Thors, you want, if you're in a 2v2, to have an air-based partner. The only problem with what my partner did was he went battle cruisers. If he'd have gone more Banshees and Vikings, we would have coordinated better, a lot better. Because you see here, he's attacking him with the battle cruisers like crazy. But because of that, this guy started building some Void Rays, which if he would have massed them, would have been a problem. But he didn't mass them, so it wasn't a problem, as you can clearly see. At this point in the game, it's basically over. Because honestly, these Hydralisks, great target for the Thors. These Roaches, great targets for the Thors. Pretty much everything my opponent has is a great target for the Thor. Simply because, it's all sort of mid and low level infantry units, which is what the Thor likes. Now Void Ray is obviously smart of him to build, but too little, too late. And that's Thor Mastery, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment or look out for my next post, whatever you want to do. Really appreciate it. And check out more tactics at Starcraft2Tactics.info.